Hello and welcome to AM News with me, Mapitsa CBD. Now, there were glowing tributes last night at the Air Force Officers' Mess as family members, the military, politicians and more gathered to honor the memory of former President Jerry John Rawlings. At the event, former Information Minister Fritz Bafo and Richard Forjo, both close friends of the former president, revealed fallout from a book by one of his former ministers detailing his working relationship with JJ hit him hard in his last days. Max Wagababa has more.
A saxophone version of Angelique Kidjo's Bleu at the Vigil. In attendance were former First Lady and wife Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. Government officials and members of the NDC were also present. Richard Forjo has been a friend of JJ Rawlings for 40 years. He revealed former NDC Minister Kwame Nahoy's book, Working with Rawlings, which provided details of his relationship with the NDC founder, hit him hard.
In his very last days, he died betrayed. He felt betrayed. That book, that was, and the response that came from those he worked with really hit him very hard. We did our best to get him, to restrain him from responding, but it was a big blow to him. Then come the mother's death, and that also hit him very hard. His last days were not his best, apart from the medical condition that deteriorated.
Former Information Minister and close friend of JJ Rawlings, Fritz Bafo, made the same claim. He says people like him and other close associates persuaded the former president not to go public with a response. First daughter of JJ Rawlings, Dr. Zaneto Agyeman-Rawlings, shared her fondest memories of her father.
And I think when Ya and I were quite young, Ya comes right after me. And the gate was quite noisy. So as he would drive in through the gate, Ya and I could hear the gate, and we would run into our rooms and try and hide our shoes behind the wardrobe, because every time he'd come into the room and open the wardrobe and stand there for a few seconds. You have too many shoes. Why do you need so many shoes? You know, when he was young, he didn't need this many shoes. So why do we have so many shoes? So it was this lecture that you kept getting, and you thought, no. So as soon as he's coming into the room, we'd run ahead of him and try and hide our shoes, because we just couldn't handle the lecture over and over and again. I remember in the 90s, when we first got the Defenders in the Air Force, and he was flying the Defender. Every new aircraft that arrived, whether it was a fixed wing or rotor, he just had to get his hands on it. And so with the Defender, he came over to pick me up, and said we should go flying together. And I remember my mother wasn't at home at the time, my other siblings were there, and a friend of my mom's was there. And he said, okay, let's go. And then my mom's friend said, but why won't you go with the others? And then he said, well, we're going to do simulated engine failure. Actually, we're going to fly asymmetric. So he was actually going to switch one engine off, and we're going to fly on one engine and try and keep the plane that way, and then restart the engine. And then he said to the woman, and she said, well, if we all go and something goes wrong, we'll all die. But if I just go with her, then only one child will die. And I remember how he'd get upset if we all flew on the same aircraft, because, he says, decrease the chance of the whole family dying and split yourselves up and that kind of thing. So he was just an interesting man, and what she saw is what she get.
Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's daughter and former MP Samia Nkrumah says the values of J.J. Rawlings are worth emulating.
We were invited by the late Colonel Achampong in late 75 to come back from Egypt and come back home basically and reconnect with our family, our culture and everything. And we were here till the early 80s. So we knew former President Rawlings between 79 and 81, before the second coup, let's put it this way. But I'm really here to show my solidarity and respect to the family for his memory. We might not agree with everything he did, but I think there's a time when we all have to come together. We have to forgive, and somehow we have to channel the pain into something constructive for our country and our people. Now, former President Rawlings, maybe what I can say is that like Osachifo Kwame Nkrumah, he was charismatic, and he appealed to all men and women in Ghana, and I think that's perhaps something you could say they had in common, that they could feel people and reach out to them, and people also could feel them and relate to them. Yes. So.
Finally, before you go, what lessons do you think can contemporary politicians take from the life of J.J. Rawlings?
That I think we need to be courageous. And yes, we need to be courageous. We need to speak our mind too. We don't always have to speak like politicians, but we can speak our mind without being afraid of people judging us, without being afraid of not sounding too sophisticated or too knowledgeable. I think politicians need to become more humble, modest, and really to speak for the people in a manner in which the people can understand and relate to.
The former National Health Insurance Authority boss, Sylvester Mensah, he once contested to be the flag bearer of the NDC. He is also here at today's ceremony.
My first encounter on a direct and personal level was somewhere around 82, when he came to La for a cleanup exercise, and the entire township came out to engage in the exercise. Some just wanted to see him, others wanted to have a chat with him, and that was the first time I had a very close encounter with him.
That was Maxwell Agbaba's report on remembering former President Jerry John Rawlings. Now, away from that, joint use checks in the Upper West Regional Capital Wa reveal commercial transports drivers, hawkers, tricycle operators are not adhering to the safety protocols for COVID-19 disease despite the increasing number of positive cases. There's only one Veronica bucket with no soap attached to it at the lorry station, and very few people are wearing the nose mask. Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
This is what I observed after spending a couple of hours at the Central Business District of the Wa municipality, an impoverished and badly overcrowded market and lorry station located at the heart of the town. President Akufo-Addo gave a fiat asking citizens of the country to adhere to safety health protocols in order to help contain spreading figures of new cases of the deadly COVID-19 disease. After 2 hours of my interaction with passengers, hawkers, retailers, tricycle operators, commercial bus drivers, there have not been any scintilla of sign showing that they are ready to adhere to these safety health protocols. It's chaotic and nothing seems to working regarding the social distancing rules and the wearing of face masks right here in this market. The people are disregarding them with laconic bravery. Whereas more, some ignorantly and arrogantly poo-poo the existence of a disease that has claimed the lives of 4 persons, infected 161 persons, with 38 of them being active and 1 in critical condition in the region. You know it's against the law for you to be in a public place without wearing nose mask.
No, that's Corona is not there in Ghana.
It's against the law to be in a public place not wearing nose mask.
No, the people wear nose mask. They know the Corona. We don't know the Corona. What is the meaning of Corona? We people know.
What disease are you referring to? When one gets small fever, you call it Corona. Okay. Tendana fed Port effusions with this tricky explanation of why they are unmasked. My work is to start to call people to join the buses. How do I do it when I'm wearing nose masks? Even the people who are expected to enforce the laws here are the very people flouting them with impunity. Mohamed Saka works here as a guard for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU. Why are you not wearing nose mask? Somebody who's supposed to put law and order here.
That's what I'm saying. I was having one, but it's dirty. I didn't wash it. I wanted to come and buy one again.
And here's the market, you can buy one, but you're not wearing.
I am going to buy one straight away.
Now that you are the one who's supposed to be the law enforcer here and you are not wearing, what do you want others to do?
Okay. I didn't try. So next I'll always try to cooperate.
With impunity. Mohamed Saka works here as a guard for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU. Throughout our rounds at the lorry park, we spotted only 1 Veronica bucket kept for washing of hands, probably for the entire lorry station, which is about the size of 3 football fields. I bumped into these 2 young men riding a motorbike, and they gave their names as Isifo Kwerihi and Kendepa. Though they have nose masks, they kept them beneath the seat of their motorbike.
So when are you going to wear it? No, open my motor and wear it now.
Okay, open it and wear it now. Senior Industrial Relations Officer of the Upper West Branch of the GPRTU, Alayunu Mahama, expressed worry over the non-compliance of drivers and passengers to safety health protocols, warning that they will soon come up with punitive measures for persons who flout the rules.
They need sensitization. So that is what we are prepared to do. And even as I'm talking now, we are calling an emergency meeting to get all the drivers informed that any driver who failed within the region to wear nose mask before embarking on any trip, we are going to set up a regional task force to monitor them. If you get any driver, we will sanction him.
The Upper West Police Command says they are also busy to ensuring that the present directive works. However, they haven't been successful to a large extent because they have been outsmarted by the people.
Men are in town, but they are patrolling.
So they have patrolled, they haven't made an arrest?
No, not arrest yet. But I will say that, you see, one modus that the people are using is that you see police, the moment they see the police, they have to remove the nose mask quickly and wear, either from their pockets or from their handbags. So we are saying that if heaven doesn't be on your this side, before that day you forget and police arrest you, make sure that you be prosecuted. Otherwise, you pay the fine as I mentioned, 6,000.
So you think that the people are playing hide and seek with the police?
Exactly, but they can run, but they can't hide. We will make sure that he who will be arrested will be prosecuted.
Acting Upper West Region's Deputy Director of Health Services in charge of public health, Dr. Richard Wudasemi, conceded that despite the deadly nature of the disease, there are several people who still doesn't believe the disease exists. He said the best approach to changing that perception is through education and sensitization.
everybody must make it a point to preach about the preventive measures to whoever they come into contact with. If we make it a habit that for every day we will convert one person, you can imagine the rippling effect of that exercise. So let us all go out and make sure that you preach to somebody who also preach to another person. Let's spread the information.
The rules and regulations are strict and clear. It is an offense to refuse to wear a face mask in public. The punishment is a fine of 6,000 to 12,000 Ghana cedis. Failure to pay the fine, the person is liable for imprisonment of 5 to 10 years. However, the people are not taking it seriously because all habits die hard. Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Still on COVID, doctors attending to critically ill patients are worried about the severity of symptoms they are manifesting. Medical Superintendent at the Ga East Hospital, Dr. Ebenezer Ojo-Mensah, says these could be linked to the arrival of the new strain of the virus into the country. The facility, which used to admit 4 patients on a daily basis, is now holding more than 10 in a day.
We reduced the intake because we want to make sure those on admission get the best of care and recover before we take in any further new patients. So luckily, the infectious disease center is up and running now. So most of our new patients have been diverted to the infectious disease center. Yes, if you compare the severity of illness we're seeing now to what we had in the past, to what we had in 2020, we think more people are ill now than last year, and the severity of the illness has increased compared to what we were seeing last year. And this can't be due to chance. So if a new variant
what exactly is accounting for what we are seeing now? You said in the last 2 to 3 weeks. What is accounting for this rise or these changes we are seeing, the severity you're talking about?
Well, this coincides with the worldwide pattern of increased severity of COVID-19 across the world. If you look at most countries, UK, Germany, etc., they are more or less closing up now because they have more ill patients on admission. If you listen to international news, and that's exactly what we are experiencing now. And it has been acknowledged that the new variant is in country, including the South African variant as well. And these are known to cause more severe disease. So since we've had quite a few of our compatriots coming over the holidays, we believe that one way or the other, the new variant has found itself into the country and could be contributing to the severity of the disease we are currently seeing. That does not mean the old variant is not there. It's still there. It's still causing illness and disease. But when you compare the severity now to what we had earlier, we believe something has changed.
With the increase in COVID-19 cases, the company tasked with the disinfection of public schools and all public areas, Zoomline Limited, has started the free disinfection of workplaces, homes and others as its contribution towards the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Speaking to the media during the launch of the exercise at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, coordinator of the free community disinfection, Lola Ashiete, stated the company is hopeful the free disinfection will reduce the increase in the numbers.
So with the surging number of COVID cases reported in Ghana, the Jaspon and Zoomlion Group has decided to embark on a 1-week free community disinfection campaign. Although we have a listed number of vulnerable institutions that we want to help in this time, we are working with a few media houses who will have times that they would allow people to call in so that they can be beneficiaries of this exercise. Like we have always done, we say that we have the tools, we have the people, we have the capacity, and we will not keep them and watch Ghana go down the drain. Our biggest stakeholder is you, and we are doing everything in our small capacity, to make sure that together we are able to fight the further spread of COVID-19. We are saying that we are giving back to our community. We need everyone alive so that we can give our beans to them and make Ghana clean. So,
Director of Corporate Affairs of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Colonel Bibi Panto, says he believes that disinfection will help curb the spread of the virus.
On behalf of the Commandant, staff, and students of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, I wish to thank Zoom Lion most sincerely for this morning's disinfection exercise. This exercise will go a very long way to help the college in this fight against COVID-19. We are all aware of the current upsurge of COVID-19. Therefore, the exercise is very timely, and we are most grateful for that.
That's it for the AM News with me, Mapita CBD.
Oh, hello there again. Thank you for staying with us. Thanks to Mapito Sibidi. She brought us the AM News. We're doing the review now. We've got lots of newspapers. My son, Joseph Akable, is here, and his uncle, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, is joining us via Zoom. Joseph, can we see your face on Zoom? Okay, so he'll join us pretty shortly, but Joseph, why were you laughing?
It's always a pleasure to join you and Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, my colleague, who more often than not loses to me when we have any form of contest. But I mean, I guess we have to assure him that there's no contest today. Then maybe it's not work and he'll join us.
I have a question. I see that you're very strong in maths. I thought I would tweak it a little bit. So I've got a question if only Opoku-Gakpo would allow it. And don't tell me you need a board. You can use your phone. I can give you.
On the nature.
I can give you a pen, and then you can do something.
If I hear the question and I need a board, I mean, in fairness, when you are giving someone a task, it's important that you, the examiner, provide the resources needed to execute it. And so, depending on the nature of the task, if it doesn't require any resources, I will.
I think the election petition hearings, it hasn't been helping a lot, particularly with you there. Hasn't been helping. It's not doing us any good with you in the courtroom. But listen, let's go through the newspapers. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo will join us in the course of this review. I'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Here's what's on the front page of the paper. Ghana mourns, nation pays last respect to Jerry John Rawlings. And on the front page, paper captures Zanato Ajiman Rawlings and her brother Kimathi, as well as her mother. They were consoling their mother yesterday. She totally broke down, especially after the service yesterday. She was able to walk in, by herself, nobody helping her out. But it wasn't the same situation after the mass yesterday. And, the Most Reverend Palmer Buckles spoke. It was so personal. I mean, what he was talking about, he made it so personal, mentioning their names every now and then in the course of his preaching. But there were some messages that got to me. He said, "Take care of your mother." Mentions the children's names and then said, "Take care of your mother." It was a very personal moment. I mean, I could feel it. And said, "Turn to the Lord in times of loneliness, and there will be lots of those moments, especially now that," can you imagine if you spent like 6 decades with someone and you suddenly are alone?
If you are looking at it even beyond the 6 decades, he's known him from the Achimota days, and so it's quite long, and I mean, it will be tough, and especially around this time, there'll be a lot of support, and that's why the preacher man made a point that they should stay with it, because after the funeral, that is when we all withdraw back into our various activities, and that's when it begins to hit you very hard, because when you wake up in the morning, you're not going to find him by your side, you're not going to be able to reach him on phone or see him anywhere else. I mean, that's when the pain of the loss is unbearable, and that will be a period that you really need the support of the family.
We'll continue with our live coverage here on Joy News, of course, today, because the body of former President Jerry John Rawlings will be laid in state. There will be some persons who'd file pass. We'll do well to take you through the timelines that has been set. So, for instance, general public, you're not allowed to be there at 8 a.m., for instance, to do the filing pass. We'll tell you the schedule that they have so that you can be mindful before you go out there. But let's say good morning to Joseph Opoku Gakpo.
Hey, Mama V, good morning. How are you? Hope you had a good weekend.
It wasn't a full weekend. I was working yesterday. You know, the Requiem Mass and, you know, the whole events marking the final funeral rites started yesterday. So I was here. So I didn't have a full-blown weekend, but it was good.
I was watching you on TV with Francisca Bla de Souza, and we were like, oh, our uncle is gone. So Mama V has to be here because she's a family member and she needs to help with the mourning and everything. So good job.
Well, thanks. Okay, listen, Opoku Gakpo, I've got a question for you guys today. Are you ready for it? Is it a task that you think you'll be up for?
I'm always ready. The national issues solving kind of questions.
Can I ask you a personal question? Listen, I don't think it's any coincidence.
Are usually my focus.
No, I don't think that it's a coincidence that just after solving the question, like we don't find you, we lose you. It's not just a technical thing.
My neighborhood, the internet connection is usually not stable most of the time. So it degrades with passing time. So you just have to get me at the right time. Otherwise, it's not my fault. It's usually not my fault.
How convenient. Let me take you back to the front page of the Daily Graphic. On election petition, EC Akufo-Addo filed witness statements. So many things going on with this election petition. Thank God Joseph Opoku, Akable is here. So he'll consolidate everything for us pretty shortly. Curbing COVID-19, 1/3 of MPs sit in chamber for procedures. Opoku Gakpo will explain that to us as well on the back page. Some graphic spots. Olympics splits points with Karela in Accra. Hearts, Chelsea split points at Brecum. There will be plenty of sports stories to share with you right after the review. Okay, Akable, Times?
Yes, the front page of the Ghanaian Times this morning has that story from the Rawlings event. Rawlings begins journey home, final funeral rites commence, and has a photograph of Xanadu and Kimathi consoling the mother. Ghana pledges $50 million support ECOWAS security operations. McMenu tax Mohammed's petition conjecture and adopt hydrogen peroxide to augment COVID-19 treatment regimen. It's a story that I read a bit of. It's on page 15 of the Ghanaian Times this morning. Yeah. The story here says a former provost of the College of Health Sciences of the University of Ghana, Reverend Emeritus Professor Andrew Seth Aite, has recommended to health authorities to adopt the use of hydrogen peroxide to augment the treatment for the coronavirus. According to him, months of research led by him and other medical scientists into the chemical had established that just 1% of hydrogen peroxide, when gargled in the mouth or dropped into one's nose for a minute, could deactivate the SARS-CoV-2 strain that causes COVID-19 and break transmission. And so he granted an interview to the Ghanaian Times where he said that the chemical was effective to protect against contracting the disease as well as inactive viruses shed by COVID-19 patients and their contacts through sneezing, coughing, or talking.
Okay, so this is hydrogen with oxygen.
Yes. I actually have the hydrogen peroxide. I actually have hydrogen peroxide. You know, it's quite common. You can get it in the pharmacies. But, I mean, he claims that there's a research that has been done. I guess we'd have to find out whether the health authority...
So does it come in the form of a mouthwash?
So it is in a bottle, and so the reason why he's asking for just 1% is if you have too much, if you use too much of it, it has a bit of a burning sensation of its own. So that's why he says just a little, it should be used, yeah.
Okay. Well, we know that it serves other purposes. It reduces gum inflammation.
Yes.
Sore throats. So, okay. Well, listen, I don't know. Opoku Gakpo, you're also a science person, more tilted towards a Greek. Any thoughts on this?
So it's actually an antiseptic. It's sometimes used to treat minor wounds because then it's able to kill the microbes that help with the growth of some of those cuts and all. And then some people do dilute it and use it as mouthwash as well. His indication is that what he's recommending is based on research that's been done. And so then it's not just them sleeping and waking up and making the point. Well, maybe the authorities can double check what this resulted in terms of the research and probably make the appropriate recommendation. But it's not surprising because, yes, repeatedly, hydrogen peroxide has been used as an antiseptic to treat minor wounds and all.
Great. All right, shall we move on?
Yes, and so the back page of the Ghanaian Times has some sports story. Lethargic Oli, Karela share points. Legon City's halt Ash Gold run, and Chelsea hold Hearts at Brekum, also on the back page of the Ghanaian Times. The center spread has some nice photographs from that quite emotional event, the Rollins Begins journey home. You can check those photographs out. There's one that has the president and his wife. Also, there's former President John Dramani Mahama and Professor Nana Opoko Ajiman, also in the center spread of the Ghanaian Times.
All right, Opoko Gakpo, you got the Daily Guide, the Statesman, and the Dispatch. Which one are you doing?
Let me begin with the Daily Statesman. It comes with a banner headline, "Let's Embrace COVID-19 Lessons, Akufo-Addo urges African leaders." That's the banner headline story. There's a story there about the EC responding to President John Mahama's petition, former President John Mahama's petition in court. Mahama's petition is a waste of time. EC Akufo-Addo prays Supreme Court to dismiss case. And the other story up there, Abu Jinapor set to inspire the youth as the youngest minister. I think he's 39 or 40, I think. And he's headed to the Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources, a very tough space because he has to help deal with the illegal mining situation and all. We know that that sector has been boiling over the last few days because some soldiers have allegedly been involved in some protection of illegal mining activities. We wait to see how he'll deal with this.
So he was born in 1983. He is 38 this year, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations to him, having gotten there at this very youthful age. There's the other story in the Daily Dispatch that's linked to this. Akufo-Addo's 46 ministers, the analysis. So in that particular story, the Daily Dispatch gives us the breakdown when it comes to the those who are from Parliament, those from outside Parliament, and additional breakdowns and all. And then there's the story about COVID-19. Hydrogen peroxide provides immediate protection, according to Professor Ite. That story you spoke of is right there. And then again, on the front page, Obeda Samwa on the PNDC era to the Fourth Republic. And it comes with a picture of former President Jerry John Rawlings, something that Obeda Samwa, the former Attorney General, has actually put together. Let me get to the other pages of this paper. Let me get to the Daily Guide. The Daily Guide, also on the front page, has the story about virtual sittings for members of Parliament there. So just to sum it all up, Speaker Alban Bagbin says from Tuesday, we will have a situation where only 1/3 of all the total number of MPs will be in the chamber as a measure to prevent the spread of COVID-19, possibly in the House. So less than 91 ministers will be in the chamber, and then the rest of the MPs would have to sit in the offices and monitor on television. And then if there is the need for them to vote or they need to show up to come speak on the floor, then they will be ushered in order to come get that done. But leadership has been tasked to actually identify those who should be in the chamber and those who should follow proceedings from the office. So that's beginning tomorrow.
Okay, Joseph, hang on. How different is this from what the previous Speaker in the 7th Parliament put in place?
Well, that announcement was given at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic then, but it didn't look like it was enforced very vigorously because then MPs were just encouraged that if you have no urgent business doing, then you don't have to show up on the floor proper. But the difference now is that looks like Speaker Bagman has specifically asked leadership on both sides to decide who should be in the chamber. So every side should take a decision on about 45 MPs thereabouts who should be in the chamber, and the rest should actually be in their offices to monitor the various proceedings.
One more thing. Will they be checking attendance? Is it compulsory for them to be in their Job 600 offices?
So one of the things that we gather they would be asked to do is you need to show up at least to the prisons to more like indicate that you've attended. So take your attendance. So once that is done, then you can go sit in the office. So I recall Speaker Bagman specifically telling them this is not an excuse for them not to show up in the House, but they need to be around and be in the offices and monitor proceedings from there, so that when voting has to be done or they need to speak on the floor, then they can be ushered in quickly right from the office.
Another thing, Joseph, monitor proceedings. How are they going to do that?
So each of the MPs do have television sets in the offices in the Job 600 building, where they will then be able to turn it on and watch everything unfold.
Okay, so no, I guess my question is, how are they transmitting it?
No, you know, Parliament broadcast
Parliament TV.
Particularly on Facebook Live, all proceedings that are unfolding in the House. So that's pipe is there, as in the full proceedings is always available as far as Parliament is concerned.
Okay.
That goes directly into the offices and they're able to then watch.
Okay. Well, so what would, parliamentary correspondents such as yourself, what will happen to you guys?
We will be in the press gallery. We have been asked to limit our attendance to at least 1/3 of all members of the press corps yet.
Okay.
But then, yes, we will be in the public and the press gallery monitoring proceedings from there.
We hear you. Okay, let me take us through the final. Are you done with the papers?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Just quickly on this final story that I've seen I think it's in the Daily Guide. Go back to your husband, Cecilia Maho, to get this story.
Joseph,
listen, Joseph, have you seen the video?
I have seen the video.
Seen the video.
Okay, listen.
It was on social media the whole of.
I know that you want to talk about it, but I guess maybe not every person has seen it. So for purposes of those who haven't yet, we've got it. Can we show it now? So I listened to the Spirits debates, especially on Saturday, where listen, Opoku Gakpo, I think you introduced this. So what are your thoughts? A spirit-filled session? Joseph? Opoku Gakpo? Oh, I hope we didn't lose him.
Come to cause trouble. Has escaped.
Hi, Joseph. I hear you're still there.
No, yes, I'm here.
I was asking if this is a spirit-filled session or...
these are matters of the Holy Spirit, and I would rather not go there. I would rather let things be as they unfold.
But you introduced the subject.
I wanted viewers to know that this happened, and it was in the newspapers, and that's all I was interested in.
Oh, so you're not going to analyze, you're not going to be dissecting. I thought that's where you're going with it.
No, not this time. These are matters of the Holy Spirit.
I listened to...
Maybe a family can help us with the analysis.
There's an artist manager. His name is Kwesi Ernest. I'm sure you guys would know him. He comes around sometimes. I listened to him analyze this and he said, but spirits, no. Odu baby or say organ in conform, no. Spirits in the kind.
Well, the story in the Daily Guide, it's in the center spread of the Daily Guide. The story says Cecilia, who was believed to have been possessed by the Holy Spirit, spoke in its language and said God was using Joyce Blessing for his work, but what was left with her was to go back to her marriage. When I saw the comments on social media, when I was looking for the video, I just wanted to watch Joyce Blessing's reaction. And in watching the video, it appears she was listening to the spirits.
A tornado. Because, you know, I heard that she said, I think as a Saturday, she said she had received more than 50 phone calls. This was embarrassing for her, at least, you know, what I've been told, somebody very close to her.
But the reaction on the video, she didn't look embarrassed.
This was really embarrassing. And I think
she looked like someone who was listening to a prophetess speak.
Okay.
Maybe the post reactions have changed their views, but I mean, and then like Joseph said,
what do you think she could have done in that moment if she wasn't listening to the Spirit? What do you think she could have done?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if I'm in her shoes, I'll equally be dumbfounded and I'll just be looking at. Yeah, but I mean, so you said she has been speaking. Has she told us whether she's going back to the marriage or whether she's listening to the Spirit?
You know, because you know that for me personally, I feel like there's wisdom that goes with the Spirit telling you something. It comes with also some kind of what am I even saying? This was so. First of all, I had some backstory. Let me share. This was an event where Joyce Blessing had gone to perform to be paid. You get what I mean? And so she was in the course of her performance that another performer comes to take her microphone. And the issue with her husband has been going on for a while. It's not new, actually. And they've been properly separated, I understand, for about 6 months. They had been, you know, on and on.
See her reaction. She's, I mean, listening attentively.
Did she also physically touch her? Like there's COVID-19, oh?
Yeah.
You see, she wasn't looking at her. She wasn't looking at her.
So she now moves to get her attention properly.
She wasn't looking at her. See, she wasn't looking at her. She wasn't looking at her. Yeah. That looks like a very pissed person right there. I especially because of the closeness. I mean, they're all gospel artists, right? Yeah. Maybe the Spirit couldn't wait because I'm feeling like this could have been said to her privately, right?
Those who have been possessed, I mean, when the Spirit takes over, you don't determine how to administer the message from the Spirit. The Spirit causes you to move.
Okay, so okay, listen. Maybe I should just be like Joseph Opoku Gakpo. Yeah. Is the Spirit working, right? So, you know, we shouldn't be analyzing what the Spirit does, should we?
You should take the Spirit as it has arrived.
I could slap you right now and say that I was led by the Spirit.
I wouldn't be annoyed. I would just say amen.
You know, Kwesi said she should sue, Joyce Blessing should sue Cecilia Mafo for, what would she be suing for again, Joseph?
I'm looking at it from contract. Her contract of performance was frustrated. I don't.
No, but that won't be. Oh my God. Well, listen, we've talked about this spiritual issue. Our time is gone. Joseph, I wanted you to tell us about the court issues, but we'll have time tomorrow morning before. Yes. How many issues? How many different courts? How many motions? How many responses have we received? Like lots of them.
So we have responses from the president's team. So there's a request for stay of proceedings, saying that the court should hold on with these proceedings. There's another request saying that instead of the court dealing with the Mr. Mohammed's review on Thursday, they should deal with it on Tuesday, that is tomorrow as well. Then we have witness statements that have been filed by the Electoral Commission through its chairperson and Peter McMahon on behalf of President Akufo-Addo. And as it stands, the petitioner has not filed any witness statements. And so tomorrow, in the event that the court decides that it's not going to grant the stay, then we may have a situation on our hand.
We'll analyze that properly when we do the review, God willing, tomorrow ahead of the court sitting. Opoku Gakpo, there's Parliament debating Ayariga's motion for suspension of tertiary fees. I understand that's on the table today. Oh, tomorrow maybe?
Precisely. Okay. Tomorrow, that's when the House will be debating that. The motion has undergone a lot of transmogrification, if I could put it that way. And so let me just quickly read to you the latest version of that particular motion, that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic to take urgent steps to absorb the fees of students of public tertiary education institutions for the 2021 academic year and to extend support to accredited private universities as part of the national COVID-19 alleviation measures being implemented by the government of Ghana. So it's not just the students in the public institutions, but the private ones as well. If this resolution passes, they would all be getting support from government going into this academic year.
We'll go in a lot more tomorrow, God willing. But Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, thank God that because I didn't ask any questions, you've had a very stable connection today. I pray that we have same tomorrow because I'll put my questions through. Joseph Akable.
Ever ready. I'm a smart guy. You know.
Oh, yeah, I know you're smart, certainly. Thank you, Akable, for helping me with the review as well. We'll see you later. Okay. All right, and thanks for watching. Stay with us. You're still watching the AM Show with Go Sports. Manchester United. I didn't think I'll be talking about Manchester United, especially since I moved to, was it Leeds or Leicester? I don't even remember. Okay, but they are doing wonders not only in the Premier League, in the FA Cup as well. And yesterday they smashed Liverpool.
Yeah, they knocked them out.
They sent them packing. Klaus says, don't worry about us. So Oreko Ampofo is here with a lot of what happened over the weekend in terms of sports. Stay with us.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM Sports with me, Oreko Ampofo. Well, it's been a fully packed weekend of sports in action, ranging from the Ghana Premier League, where we did see some surprising results, and then straight through to the FA Cup, and then to the Spanish La Liga action. We were bringing you updates on all of that as well, but let's start off from the Ghana Premier League, where Asante Kotoko blew a big opportunity to go top of the Ghana Premier League for the first time this season after they lost against Aduana Stars at the Accra Sports Stadium yesterday. The difference was Samuel Bio, who scored his 4th goal in his career against Asante Kotoko.
A win today, and that is what today the manager is going to call. Aduana Stars are spotted. It's in midfield together with Ibe. Finally, game gets underway here at the Accra Sports Stadium. If you just joined us, this Star Times coverage. Frimpong, Annabella to Gama. Gama with a through ball. Poku goes in, brought down by Joseph Ado. It's a goal kick. Kotoko appeals in play from Sam Adams.
Absolutely, once he checks onto his left foot, always looking for that space to hit it. Not the most powerful of efforts. I believe I would be disappointed he couldn't gather that one or parry it away from danger. Look at who is arriving. They say, I'm then trying to catch.
Goes for goal again. That was close from Isaac Quain.
Score from there with the right foot especially, but he just cuts across the ball.
Here is Annabella. Lovely pass to Emmanuel Jenfi. He's got so much space. Poku is in the middle. He goes for the high ball. Here is Nete. Ball goes straight into from Moro. Here is Emmanuel Jenfi. Emmanuel Jenfi goes for shot. Close. Jenfi to Annabella. Latif Annabella's shot is blocked. Habib. Fabio Gama misses from close range.
Annabella did well here. I was trying to just, from there, try to hit it into the side of the net. It was blocked. But once he was arriving, Habib, he struck it. It was going wayward. It was Bruno who got it back into play. Yeah.
But you can't rule them out now. Here they go. Abduman. Good block. That's a goal. Samuel Bio has broken the deadlock. Aduana Stars eye to the lead. He scored against Kotoko in Doma last season, and he's put them ahead after 73 minutes.
Strike. And take a look at Bio. Nobody is now making his way into the box. A very good ball into the box here. As he gets here until it comes off Mubarak.
That's the first time in the history of Aduana Stars that they have won an away game against Asante Kotoko. What a big victory that is, because what it does is that it moves them from mid-table straight up until 2nd place in the Ghana Premier League. We'll be taking a look at the table much later on the show, but that wasn't the only big game this weekend in the Ghana Premier League. There was actually a very shocking result on Friday, which had to do with Ash Gold and then Legon Cities. Now, Legon Cities had to come from behind twice and ended up winning the game by 5-2 and initially moved out of the relegation zone. But they are back there due to results during this weekend.
Good touch from Abagna. Yawano fails to get a control that he rightly wished for. Fatau in trouble. He's gifted a goal. Yawano has broken the deadlock to that game from a winning note. And here is Legon Cities. Good crossing. Nobody does the connection. Beautiful. Beautiful. Awesome. Magnificent. Still trying to pick up Ano Amuzu. Abagna, short of ideas. Looks for Ampim da Costa's run. And there he goes. Can he send a decent cross? Yes, he does. Awesome. Ashgold are backing it. It's 2-1. Boasia Shantigold. Jawano again scores at the
One touch on the volley. Beats the goalkeeper through his near post. Had crossed the line initially.
Back to Ampedu. Can he send a decent cross? Ampedu whips one in straight to Clotte. He gets it out and it's for Aqua. Atukwe is onside. Jonah Atukwe! Legon Cities!
Again, lovely way they work the ball. Ampedu's cross was the most dangerous of crosses. I was expecting Clotte to catch this one and grab it. He just parried the ball away, and here you see the cool head there from Aqua. And Jonah Atukwe caught him on his near.
He seems to have picked up and not close into the first half. Legon Cities! They are up by 3-2. Baba Mahama has put Legon Cities ahead. Rose to become captain of Liberty and then decided to part ways and join the big spending Legon Cities. Another opportunity for Legon Cities. Mahama with a back heel. It's a fourth goal. David Kujo has made it 4 for Legon Cities. Legon Cities 4. Referee whistles. Anno steps forward and Dauda saves. Good save, Dauda. And he's made up for that error.
Well, that was a huge victory for Legon Cities, one that they celebrated so much with their marquee signing Asamoah Gyan in the dressing room.
Well, thanks for staying with us here on Joy News. In a little bit, we will be making our checks. We'll be going around some parts of the country to look at adherence to the COVID-19 protocols. We will start in the classrooms. One of the things that we'll be doing, we'll be sharing some thoughts as some children have been sharing on our Kids Paradise program over the weekend, looking at the first week of since schools reopened and, COVID and how they've been coping. They'll be sharing their thoughts with us. We encourage you to also do the same. If you're watching, you're a guardian, you've been going through the first week of sending your child to school with COVID-19 around, with the numbers going up. How has it been for you? Are you a lot more confident in the structures put in place today? Are you more confident today than you were last week? We'd love to hear from you. But it's also the second day of events marking the final funeral rites of former President Jerry John Rawlings. And today he'll be laid in state at the Accra International Conference Center. We've got cameras there at the Accra International Conference Center and colleagues there who will be joining us. And so that's also one of the things that we'll be doing on the show today. But first, Joy News checks in the Upper West Regional Capital reveal commercial transport drivers, hawkers, tricycle operators are not adhering to the safety protocols for COVID-19, despite the increasing number of positive cases. There's only one Veronica Buckhead with no soap attached to it at the lorry station and very few people wearing the nose mask. Here's correspondent Rafiq Salam's report.
This is what I observed after spending a couple of hours at the Central Business District of the Wa municipality, an impoverished and badly overcrowded market and lorry station located at the heart of the town. President Akufo-Addo gave a fiat asking citizens of the country to adhere to safety health protocols in order to help contain sprawling figures of new cases of the deadly COVID-19 disease. After 2 hours of my interaction with passengers, hawkers, retailers, tricycle operators, commercial bus drivers, there have not been any scintilla of sign showing that they are ready to adhere to these safety health protocols. It's chaotic and nothing seems to be working regarding the social distancing rules and the wearing of face masks right here in this market. The people are disregarding them with laconic bravery. Whereas more, some ignorantly and arrogantly poo-poo the existence of a disease that has claimed the lives of 4 persons, infected 161 persons, with 38 of them being active and 1 in critical condition in the region. You know it's against the law for you to be in a public place without wearing nose mask.
No, that's Corona is not there in Ghana.
It's against the law to be in a public place not wearing nose mask.
No, the people wear nose mask. They know the Corona. We don't know the Corona. What is the meaning of Corona? We people know.
What disease are you referring to? When one gets small fever, you call it Corona. Okay. Tendana fed poured effusions with this tricky explanation of why they are unmasked. My work is to start to call people to join the buses. How do I do it when I'm wearing nose masks? Even the people who are expected to enforce the laws here are the very people flouting them with impunity. Mohamed Saka works here as a guard for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU.
Why are you not wearing nose mask? Somebody who's supposed to put law and order here.
That's what I'm saying. I was having one, but it's dirty. I didn't wash it. I wanted to come and buy one again.
And here's the market. You can buy one, but you're not wearing it.
I am going to buy one straight away.
Now that you are the one who's supposed to be the law enforcer here and you are not wearing, what do you want others to do?
Okay. I didn't try. So next, I'll always try to cooperate.
With impunity. Mohamed Saka works here as a guard for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU. Throughout our rounds at the lorry park, we spotted only one Veronica bucket kept for washing of hands, probably for the entire lorry station, which is about the size of 3 football fields. I bumped into these 2 young men riding a motorbike, and they gave their names as Isifo Kwerihi and Kendepa. Though they have nose masks, they kept them beneath the seat of their motorbike.
So when are you going to wear it?
No, open my motor and wear it now.
Okay, open it and wear it now.
Senior Industrial Relations Officer of the Upper West Branch of the GPRTU, Alayunu Mahama, expressed worry over the non-compliance of drivers and passengers to safety health protocols, warning that they will soon come up with punitive measures for persons who flout the rules.
They need sensitization. So that is what we are prepared to do. And even as I'm talking now, we are calling an emergency meeting to get all the drivers informed that any driver who failed within the region to wear nose mask before embarking on any trip, we are going to set up a regional task force to monitor them. If you get any driver, we will sanction him.
The Upper West Police Command says they are also busy to ensuring that the present directive works. However, they haven't been successful to a large extent because they have been outsmarted by the people.
Men are in town, but they are patrolling.
So they have patrolled, they haven't made an arrest?
No, not arrest yet. But I will say that, you see, one modus that the people are using is that you see police, the moment they see the police, they have to remove the nose mask quickly and where, either from their pockets or from their handbags. So we are saying that if heaven doesn't be on your this side, before that day you forget and police arrest you, make sure that you be prosecuted. Otherwise, you pay the fine as I mentioned, 6,000.
So you think that the people are playing hide and seek with the police?
Exactly, but they can run, but they can't hide. We will make sure that he who will be arrested will be prosecuted.
Acting Upper West Region's Deputy Director of Health Services in charge of public health, Dr. Richard Wudasemi, conceded that despite the deadly nature of the disease, there are several people who still doesn't believe the disease exists. He said the best approach to changing that perception is through education and sensitization.
Everybody must make it a point to preach about the preventive measures to whoever they come into contact with. If we make it a habit that for every day we will convert one person, you can imagine the rippling effect of that exercise. So let us all go out and make sure that you preach to somebody who also preach to another person. Let's spread the information.
The rules and regulations are strict and clear. It is an offense to refuse to wear a face mask in public. The punishment is a fine of 6,000 to 12,000 Ghana cedis. Failure to pay the fine, the person is liable for imprisonment of 5 to 10 years. However, the people are not taking it seriously because all habits die hard. Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
So you know the situation in WAS, Rafiq Salam has told us. We'll be concentrating now in our schools. It's been a week since most of our children went back into the classroom after almost 10 months of closure. But this is still in the midst of COVID-19. How have they fared as a parent? How has it been for you, taking them and bringing them back, or watching them go and returning? How has it been? We'll love to hear from you. But let's have a conversation with Mr. Kofi Asare, Executive Director, Africa Education Watch. And your outfit, Mr. Kofi Asare, first of all, let me say good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. There you are.
Hi, good morning, and good morning to your cherished audience.
Great. You issued a statement, coinciding with the International Day of Education, where you make some recommendations. We'll come to that. But having monitored the first week since our children went back to school, at least most of them, because some parents still insist that they don't think that it is safe for them to send their children back to school. How has the first week been?
Well, we begin by indicating that it was right at the time of deciding to reopen school to think of same, because the kids have been at home for about 10 months and the learning loss was becoming too much. At the same time, the virus was within acceptable limits. Unfortunately, just when school reopening was announced, we started experiencing an increment in the spread. And ever since, it's been up and up and up. We're doing about 80 cases at the time school reopening was announced, and we are now doing about 650 to 670 cases a day. And so, yes, it was good to reopen schools, but the sudden change in the behavior of the virus, coupled with the poor planning and implementation of the reopening process, has raised, and created the need for concern and the mixed feelings that we are all experiencing today.
Did the monitoring also reveal how schools are dealing with either adherence? There was reports last week of one school at least that recorded some 2 cases.
Well, our monitoring in week 1 indicated that there was no regard for physical distancing, absolutely no regard for social distancing, suggesting that the GES is either indecisive or has decided to ignore the physical distancing regulations of the WHO, UNESCO, and of the government of Ghana. The minimum class size we saw in Greater Accra was about 65 in public schools. There were class sizes up to 80 and 90 in areas like Kaswa, in areas like Ninyano, in areas like Ashaman. You know, class sizes are 3 times more than the recommended number in most cases. And so, not the impression, but then the evidence on the ground suggests that the GNS is indecisive on whether to conform to the social distancing requirements of the health authorities or not. It also suggests that wearing of nose masks is now becoming a substitute for physical distancing. And so that is what we saw. Apart from that, we saw schools that initially did not have vertical buckets. Most schools had just 1 in the center of the school. The maximum were 3, with 2 normally not functioning. But the GNS indicated that by the end of the week, all schools were going to receive their PPEs. Let me indicate that as an agency in charge of managing pre-tertiary education, we had a lot of confidence in the GNS's ability to manage the reopening process because of what it did prior to this, which was the piloted reopening last year. Unfortunately, we are disappointed that we are making mistakes even where we had things right, last year. Because for the GNS to come out and say that, well, just because the PPE is delayed could not mean that we should delay reopening of schools, and that just 1 week is okay for us to delay with our PPEs and now we're going to supply them. That statement alone is suggestive of the fact that the hallmark of GNS, is not the perfectionist one that we thought we were all working with. When it comes to health and safety, you have to be perfect because there is no room for lapses in matters of life and death. Unfortunately, it's been business as usual, and that is the disappointing part. Apart from that, the positive aspect is that we've seen a teaching force that is committed to weather the storm and manage teaching within the pandemic at the risk of their lives. And we've seen an enthusiastic learner population yearning to come back to school and reconnect with their teachers to continue the business of teaching and learning, which has been truncated for about 10 months now. So that is what we observed in the first week of reopening.
Mr. Sarr, we know that the GES gave general guidelines. Is it up to them to do the physical distancing for the schools? Don't the school authorities themselves have a certain responsibility here?
Well, the GES is the service delivery agency. So they are the one we hold responsible for lapses in implementation. The GES's own guidelines failed to put a cap on the number of students per class. In the 2020 guidelines, which was used successfully, the GES had a cap of 30 per class. This time around, it removed that cap from its guidelines for reasons known to GES themselves. So now we are having a situation where we get the impression that teachers are not ready to split the classes, because if they split the classes, they will likely end up running a shift system and teachers will have to teach from morning till afternoon. I mean, from 7:30 to 4:30, which they are reluctant to do without any extra compensation or motivation. And so because on the other side, the guidelines is not restrictive of the class size, teachers seem to be comfortable managing the numbers. But the issue is not about what is comfortable or what is manageable, within a status quo. The issue is about what is manageable within the confines of the law. Because the president has actually affirmed that this social distancing, physical distancing requirement must be deployed and enforced throughout the whole country. And so one has no discretion over them. And that is why, and even beyond the executive endorsing it or its legislative backing, we are concerned that it borders on compromising, health and safety. And so we think that the removal of that cap is one of the reasons why we have high class sizes, with schools not being too eager to split them into manageable classes and then run the shift system, just because they don't want to work from 7:30 to 4:30.
I have the Finder newspaper, and on page 4, there's a school that is running the shift system, thank God, because there are 80 children in one class. At least after going through the first week, they decided, and this is in the this is Breman Esikuma district in the central region, where the Sikuma Catholic Girls School headmaster has been telling the Finder that there was a meeting. District directors, teachers, all agreed that the school was overpopulated. So they decided to run the shift system. My question is, maybe the first week schools couldn't decide that, but going forward, that is something that could happen.
Of course, they have no option because we are making noise all over the place. They have no option because we are making noise all over the place that the wrong thing is being done. So the pressure being put on the GES will definitely push them to succumb. But our concern is that this meeting between head teachers and district directors should have taken place 2 weeks before reopening. Immediately the president announced the reopening of schools, school heads should have been asked to meet their district directors to do the permutations over class sizes, because every school head, every district director has the class size list for every school under their jurisdiction. We are talking of a maximum of about 100 schools per district, average of about 90 schools per district. So directors being asked to meet all school heads and do the permutations for splitting of classes should have been so fundamental. This is so basic, it should have happened at least 2 weeks before reopening. Then a week before reopening, for instance, school heads should have been asked to come and feed the district directors with data on whether they were going to run shift system or they had extra teachers to be able to run parallel systems where perhaps a class would be split with one class taking place in the church and the other remaining in the classroom running simultaneously. This is what has been going on in other countries. And so we were surprised, or we are still surprised that we are having this discussion today. This should have been done before reopening. As I keep saying, compromising on health and safety for a minute has its own ramifications. There is no excuse for COVID, has no time for piloting, it has no moratorium, and it has no time for laxity in planning. And so the least mistake you do, you put someone's life at risk. And that is why we are actually unamused about the approach that the GS has adopted. With this discussion you are talking about, this meeting with heads should have taken place 2 weeks before reopening. And so the planning process was very, very, very poor, and we are very, very much disappointed in them. That notwithstanding, we are happy that they are beginning to realize that you cannot run classes with people more than 50, not even 40. We need to conform strictly to government's own physical distancing protocols, because as we speak, we are now doing 670 cases a day. When we're
doing more. We're doing more, and whilst you're talking, we're just going to put the Ghana Health Service data there. I've got a question on that. There are people who are saying that we were not here, we were not recording these figures when the president announced. But now that we're here and our active cases are more than 3,000 now, as you can see, 3,286, should we be talking shutdown again?
Well, we have no option than to start talking shutdown. There is no option. Let me give you an example. In July, when schools reopened, for the pilots, the rate of infection was about half of this. It was about 1,005 in July when we were reopening. Okay, as we speak, last week, 3 countries have shut down their capitals. Kigali is shut down, Lilongwe, Malawi is shut down, Freetown is shut down. Schools in Kigali shut down, schools in Malawi is shut down. Okay, and these are countries that are reporting between 100 and 150 a day. We are doing 679. We've been doing 600 back on back on the 19th and on the 20th. And we've experienced a week-long reopening, which was beset with overcrowding in our classrooms. We don't know the implications of that lack of, observance of health and safety protocols to the families that these children will go and then mingle with when they leave school. And so, since we have proven, over time in the past week that it is conforming with physical distancing requirements of the health authorities is more or less, if I should put it this way, it is more or less thermodynamics. It's so difficult. Then the only option we have is to shut down, because if we continue this irresponsible approach to policy implementation this way, we are going to put all of us, our lives at risk, and we are going to die. So yes, we need to discuss shutting down, because the Ghana Education Service has proven beyond doubt that it has no clue how to plan the reopening of at the entire educational system within a pandemic like COVID. We have just let our guards down, and we've messed up in week 1. And we are afraid that given the increasing numbers of new cases, a discussion on shutdown is never off the table. It's actually on the table.
But let's, put this in a certain perspective. We've been careless in most instances, no social distancing, no adherence to the protocols. But the fact still remains that schools haven't been that affected in terms of it is too early, just as you said, for us to determine the kind of implications our carelessness would cause to our students and the schools. So why do we come to this conclusion of let's discuss shutdown?
Well, I'm talking about discussing shutdown of Accra, not schools necessarily, of Accra. Shutdown because the rate at which the virus is spreading on a daily basis is almost twice what we experienced in July. It's more than what occasioned initial shutdowns. And if we look at other countries around us who have lesser numbers, obviously shutting down is an option. Let me give you an example. In Sierra Leone, for instance, they shut down Freetown. The shutdown they are implementing there is simply that no citizen is allowed to travel outside Freetown and go out of Freetown because the disease is situated mainly in Freetown. So they don't want it to spread so much to the outside parts of Freetown. So there are various types of shutdowns that you can implement. Some you will not allow anyone to move out of the epicenter, and some you will not allow anyone to also enter or leave the epicenter and go internationally and all that. And so it depends. But then given the rate at which we are increasing our spread, shutdown is actually one of the options on the table. Now go to the school. If you study how the disease is spreading in other countries, including Ghana, you may be making a big mistake if you are expecting to hear cases in schools before you conclude that the lack of conformity to health and safety protocols in schools is affecting the community spread. This is why I have heard of testimonies of cases of patients, even on networks on multimedia, where someone was infected because they took their child to a swimming pool, a child who was about 6 or 7 years, took them to a swimming pool, and then the next day they had mild cold, and then that was it. The child would just have a mild cold, and that was it. But you are going to be infected, and yours is not going to be mild cold. And so if you are waiting to see high temperatures and all the symptoms exhibiting in a child because they got exposed to the virus in school or around the school environment due to lack of observance of the protocols, that may not be the case. You may end up seeing families being infected, okay, because their children were exposed to the virus. So that the symptoms will manifest rather at the family level and not necessarily, in children who are maybe in the lower primary or that. So let's have that at the back of our mind when we are discussing the spread. So whenever we are seeing increases in the community spread, we shouldn't rule out the fact that the increases are as a result of communal factors, including out of school and in-school factors. Of course, we've seen teachers in other schools. We've seen students and a teacher in the school in our airport. We've had cases in one other school reported amongst the elderly. But one may not know how they came into contact with this. If it was through a contact with a child, you are not likely to see the same symptoms in that child. And so that is what makes it even more worrying in our case.
Great. Shutting down Accra would also mean shutting down schools, obviously. We have very enthusiastic children. My own children have been looking forward to going back to school. They've been excited, waking up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., ready to go back to school. And it's not just me. There are other parents who are also sharing similar stories. How do we continue with the education if we have to close down again?
Well, when it comes to education, health comes definitely before education. Many schools have closed down in the first week. There are lots of schools that are working online. Most of the elite schools actually refused to reopen because of the community spread that was occasioned by day one of school reopening. And so most of the private schools are running virtual schools. If you go to East Legon, most of the schools, Cornerstone, if you come to Ivy Preparatory, there are so many schools are running online because of the fear of contracting the virus, because the virus is increasing. And so in the midst of this, that's why I'm saying that we have demonstrated at the public level that we cannot manage the schools within the COVID because the GNAS is not ready. It's not prepared to enforce government-owned guidelines. That is why we are discussing the closure of schools. It is because the entity responsible for managing schools within the pandemic has proven the first week that it hasn't got the capacity to do so. So why should you put the lives of parents at risk? If not children, why should you put the lives of parents at risk? If the parents die, who will take care of their children? And so let's elevate the discussion beyond school and look at the health of the families that the children will go to every day and say that if government, through the Ghana Education Service, cannot manage simple physical distancing in our classes. I'm just coming from OEB Presby right now, this morning, and they are there, 8 in a class. And then the DRO will come and sit on radio TV, and then he's talking about, be saying B and C when the situation is A, and we are talking about health and safety, for God's sake. And so if we obviously want to do PR with health and safety, and we cannot manifest compliance on the ground, then there's no point in reopening schools to endanger the lives of children and parents. That is why we should be discussing, we should, as part of our discussions, be considering, among others, shutting down if the non-compliance continues. That is why the president said that, do not give me a reason to shut down schools again, because he reckons that there might be a reason to do so. Other than that, he wouldn't have stated that. And we are giving him the reasons, because basic compliance with physical distancing protocols, supplying of PPEs ahead of school reopening, these fundamental things have suddenly become very, very difficult for the Ghana Education Service to manage.
Mr. Sari, stay with me for a while longer. I want us to check this adherence to the protocols. Let's go to the University of Ghana. My colleague, Kweku Asante, is standing by. Kweku, tell us what you've been observing. Hello, Kweku Asante, if you can hear me.
I'm currently live here at the University of Ghana. Just behind me is the very famed BAM Library, touted as the biggest library in this part of the continent. And so today on campus, we are checking how much students on campus are adhering to the COVID protocols, how well they are ensuring that they are safe and all. And a number of people have raised concerns that since universities reopened, students have not paid so much attention to the protocols. And so there have been calls that the universities must do more. And since I've been on campus this morning, I've observed quite a healthy adherence to the protocols, because as we know, the University of Ghana, even though they've resumed, they are not having in-person classes, they are doing online. And so most of the students are having their instructions online. And so let me speak to a few of the students who are here at the BAM Library waiting for the library to open so that they go in there. A number of people have already gathered here, and then we take their views, and then we will also check from the halls of residents. Hello, sir. Please, what's your... Yeah, okay, you're on Zoom. Okay, let me start with you. Please, what's your name?
My name is Bilal.
Bilal?
Yeah.
So, Bilal, what level are you?
1100.
1100.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you a resident or you are a non-resident?
I'm a non-resident. Yeah.
Right. So, that means you come from the house every day, to come for your online lectures, to come and use the school ICT facilities. How well do you think yourself, your colleagues, and management is doing in terms of the COVID-19 protocols, the wearing of masks, social distancing and all?
As you can see, people are wearing the masks. But today they say we are starting the face-to-face lecture, so we have come to check.
What course do you do?
Economics, geography and history.
And the idea was that you're going to do online classes. Are you now doing in-person classes?
Yeah, we are doing online, but today we are starting the face-to-face. Yeah.
All right, so Bilal here telling me about online classes that they do. Today they are beginning the in-person classes, face-to-face. And so let me speak to this lady as well. Hello.
Hi.
Please, what's your name?
Geraldine Amankweje.
Geraldine, okay. Yeah. Geraldine, so just like I asked your colleague, how well do you think we are all doing, your colleagues? Are you a resident, for instance? Which hall are you? J. Nelson, okay. So if you look at the hall, how well do you think people are doing in terms of adhering to the COVID-19 protocols?
Okay, it has been good because you can't enter without it. The protest will send you back to enter. Even if you are carrying something, they will help you get the thing down for you to wear your mask before.
Right. And so, I mean, online instructions and all, how well has it been going for you in the midst of this COVID?
All of them, most of them, I would say, has been great because the lectures meet us up and we write the necessary notes and the reading material. But we have little challenges with the number of students that are supposed to be present. That's the only challenge that we are having.
Right. So Geraldine here telling me about the kind of challenges they've had so far in terms of the online in the midst of COVID. The University of Ghana has migrated part of its instructions online because of coronavirus fears and the idea that they want to limit the spread. And so let me go to the other side of the library. A number of people have also just been sitting there waiting for the library to officially open. They will go in there, use the ICT facilities of the university to be able to take their courses. So let me come here. Hello. Hello, good morning. Please, can we speak to you for a brief moment? Please, what's your name?
I'm Edith.
Edith, so you're live on Joy News. I mean, in terms of COVID adherence, so far, how well do you think the school has been doing, yourself with your colleagues and all?
Oh, the school has been doing well with the washing yesterday. It's been good.
Right. Are you a resident?
Yeah.
Which hall are you?
Mensa Saba.
Mensa Saba Hall.
Yeah.
So, in there, together with your roommates and all those things, do you think that you are safe, you are protected in terms of...
Very safe, yeah.
Right. So let me go here. Please, what's your name?
Hannah.
Hannah. Are you also a resident?
Yes,
Saba
please.
Hall?
Yes, please.
Okay, Mensa Saba Hall, the Vikings. So, I mean, do you feel safe in terms of going about your academic duties?
Yeah, every place in the school, anywhere that you go, they have this Veronica buckets and then water. They have the thermometer and then everything. So before you enter, you check before you enter inside.
Hello. Please, are you also in Mensa Saba Hall? Right. What, are you roommates or you are friends?
Yeah, friends.
Roommates plus a friend. Okay. So, is it that you feel confident that you'll be able to go about your duties or your academic instructions without catching COVID, or you feel like there's more to be done on campus so that students feel safe?
Yes, I'm more.
You feel good about all that's going on,
yes.
Right? So, I mean, most of the University of Ghana students that I've spoken with here at the BAM Library have expressed a great deal of confidence in the mechanisms that the university have put in place to be able to protect them. So far, we've not had a lot of complaints from campus. I mean, 2 weeks ago when I came here, this Monday, when level 100s were reporting, there were a few of such situations where people were not adhering to the COVID protocols, they were flouting the rules, they were not wearing their masks. But we spoke to the Dean of Student Affairs, Professor Alufa Bobkin, who gave us assurances that they are going to do enough to be able to ensure that these protocols are adhered to. Of course, the University of Ghana has an isolation center. It has the University of Ghana Medical Center, which has been like the cream de la cream for the VIP people who have COVID. And so they also have the University of Ghana Hospital, where they have an isolation center to be able to deal with this. So far, we've not had any complaints or any reports that there are people who have been put in these isolation centers or people who are suspected to have contracted the coronavirus. And like I told you earlier, the University of Ghana has migrated its course of instructions online. And so with the exception of a few students like nursing and other courses where they must necessarily meet in person, most of the instructions are done online. And so it has limited to a certain extent the risk of spreading the virus. But one other issue that have come up is that the rooms are still fully populated. So if you go to the diaspora halls, there are still 4 in a room. If you go to the traditional halls, there are still 3 in a room. Or if you go to the annexes of the traditional halls, there are still 4 in a room. And so these are concerns that some have shared, that if you are doing online and you are still populating the halls, people are going to share the same bathroom, the same washrooms, then you'll probably be spreading be increasing the risk of catching COVID. Let me speak to a few more people, Mama V, before we come back to you and you take it up in studio. Hello, sir. Please, what's your name? You're live on Joy News.
Right.
Right, are you a freshman? Yeah. What hall are you, please? You're not on campus. Okay. So that means you commute to and from the house every morning before you come to be able to go about all this. I'm asking, that means as a non-resident, you come from the house every day to be able to go through your academics. Taking public transport and coming here, how safe do you think you are to be able to come to campus and do all the things you do?
I don't think I'm really much safe, but since my accommodation is not guaranteed on campus, so I'll be managing for now, but I'm still doing other things to be on campus.
Right. But when the university opened its portal, did you go through it?
As at the time they opened the residential application portal, I've paid by 1,000 reflected in my system, so I couldn't get access to it.
Sure. So a non-resident also here, and a great deal of the people who are here are non-residents because they come here to be able to.
University of Ghana, Legon. I guess this is the picture that Kofi Asare would have loved if it was spread across, but unfortunately that's not the situation everywhere else. Let's quickly go to the Western region. Natalia Kwanzaa is standing by. Natalia, is it Market Circle you are?
Yes, Mama V.
Okay, so what's the picture? What can you tell us in terms of the adherence to the protocols, particularly also watching school children going to school this morning?
Well, Mama V, at the Market Circle this morning, as you can see from the backdrop, there is no social distance being observed. A few of the traders in here have their face masks on, and some of them, with a few who even have it on, most of them have it below their chin. Those coming in to buy are also not wearing their face masks, with most of them also having it below their chin. Coming to the Market Circle, I observed that the students going to school have their face masks on, even with children around 5 years that I saw this morning. And then when it comes to the Market Circle again, Mama V, they used to have water basins with soap, tissue, all scattered at the various entrances of the Market Circle. But this morning, going around the various entrances, I've seen that all these things are not there.
Okay, so we seem to be relaxing, even though we're recording a lot more cases these days. Natalia, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much, Natalia, joining us from the Western Region Market Circle, to be precise. Anas Abet is also in Techiman. Anas, good morning. Where exactly are you? What can you tell us? Hello, Anas, if you can hear me. Okay, I'm not sure we have Anas Abet, but let me quickly go back to Mr. Kofi Asare, who's with Education Watch. Let me come back to, first of all, I was just saying that the situation at the University of Ghana campus, that's something that you would have loved if that was the situation everywhere else. Unfortunately, that's not the story, but they are certainly doing something good that's working for them.
Yes, we think that the universities, some of the universities are actually approaching the reopening process with tact and some good planning, and must be commended for that. We appreciate that all the universities have challenges. I mean, all the institutions have challenges, not just public schools, but also public universities. They all have challenges. But then the difference in approach, and strategy for implementation obviously always makes a difference. That is not to say that there are no issues of overcrowding in the universities. We have information that at the University of Education, for instance, in the social science department, they are running classes around 1,000. The political science class, for instance, it's around 1,000, and so which is unacceptable. So it is not all the universities. Some of them are still running higher class sizes of 1,000 and all that, and we have decided to actually engage the Tertiary Education Commission on that, because not all universities are actually doing the blended learning. That is the blend of the virtual and then the in-person one as a strategy to reduce the class sizes. Not all of them. There are some huge numbers coming up from the University of Education which are not in conformity to the social distancing regulations of the Ghana government. And we want to raise that issue to the attention of the National the National Council for Tertiary Education, which is now called the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission.
I was just going to say that University of Education, Winneba, I remember in the early stages of COVID-19 when schools were doing online, they had a huge problem. They didn't even have a management system so that the student could do online. But 1,000 students in a class, that is definitely a no, and it shouldn't take any external observer to be prompting them of this issue.
Yeah, exactly. We know the university hasn't got any effective virtual learning system, but then they ended up admitting 20,000 students. So obviously we knew there would be congestion there. 20,000 students, we knew there would be congestion there. If you go to the UCC, where the UCC is the largest university in Ghana when it comes to admitting of students. It admits close to about 65,000 students. Okay, if you go to the UCC, I mean, prior to this academic year, they had 67,000 students or so. If you go to the UCC, they are doing a lot of blended learning. So both the university and the colleges under the university are deploying blended learning approaches to reasonably, face lessons and split classes. We are not saying that at the University of Education, and we are worried. We are following the University of Education case carefully, but it is absolutely not. It is actually not an option, especially in the social sciences faculty where there are over 2,000 students. At the University of Education. We encourage all the universities to, as much as possible, adhere to the physical distancing requirements, because that is the only insurance that, should there be an outbreak, its effect will be minimized within the population. Okay, so immediately you begin to flout the physical distancing regulations, then you should be ready to see a spiraling, effect of a single case. But whenever you are observing, you are trying as much as possible to observe same, even if one person acquires the virus, you may realize that the impact, the multiplier effect wouldn't be so much, within the population. That is what is good about observing the physical distancing protocols of COVID. And so we have the tertiary institution on our radar. At the end of this week, we'll be doing a report on both the pre-tertiary and the tertiary institutions in respect of their compliance to health and safety regulations within this COVID reopening period.
Great. Let me just go to Anas Sabit, and I'll come back to you so we can wrap up on this. Anas Sabit is in Sunyani or Techiman, I beg your pardon. Anas, good morning. Hopefully you can hear me. What can you report? Are people adhering to the protocols?
Good morning, I hope you can hear me from this place. This is the Techiman, the heart of Techiman. I'm the Techiman Pharmacy Station, where I'm standing currently. And in fact, from what I'm seeing, a lot of the people here are actually complying to the COVID-19 protocols. I have seen quite a number of them already in their nose masks. Only a few of the people I see here are without their nose masks. And the credit goes to the security agencies over the past few days, from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They make sure they keep on monitoring the situation on the ground, and they've arrested quite a number of the people. And as a result, this morning I'm yet to see any of the police officers on the grounds, but almost all the people I'm coming across this morning are already in their nose masks for fear of being arrested later in the day when the police hit the ground. So from this area, you can see almost everyone around me are already on their nose masks. People are, complying to the protocols strictly so far as the use of the nose mask is concerned, Mama.
Okay, well, Anas, thank you very much. It's good to know that because the police are now arresting people, people are beginning to take it serious. But it saddens some of us because they're not wearing the mask because they know the effectiveness of the mask, but they are doing it only to prevent arrests. Interesting, but that's where we've got into. Anas Sabit there joining us with a live report from Techiman. Mr. Asare, I want to play some young children 1 week after going to school. They were on Kids Paradise, one of our shows on our sister station, and they've been sharing some thoughts. So here we go with some young children, 1 week of reopening amidst COVID-19.
Hi guys, I'm Benedicta. I school at and the Grace Academy at Kumasi. I'm in JHS3. I'm very happy for the reopening of schools. I thank the president for what he has done. As I'm going to school, all the safety protocols in our school has been observed. When you first enter the school, you have to wash your hands, wipe them clean, put the tissue in the dustbin. After that, you go to the place and they will check your temperature. So when you're done, then you move to class. Everybody is wearing his or her nose mask, and everyone, every student, every person in the school has his or her sanitizer. So in our school, we always wear the nose mask. Even if you remove it, you get punished. So when you are first entering our school, it says no mask, no entry. And I thank the president for opening the school. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Juanita Walden, and I am from Flowers Gay Schools, and I'm in P6. I'm super excited, and I want to thank the president for opening the schools for us, so we can go to university, and you have to go to school so that we be educated, so that we become great people in future. Thank you.
My name is Prince. I school at King's Palace. I'm in JHS3. We adhere to all the protocols. So I pray God will continue to grant us more life so we can finish peacefully.
Okay, the fact though is that most of these children are in private schools, and the kind of systems that they put in place are totally different. So, Ms. Asare, just in wrapping up, I want us to go back to some of the recommendations that you gave in the statement that you issued to mark International Day of Education. You're beginning to even talk about vaccines, but I want to remain at your paragraph 1, where you are calling on African government to prioritize the involvement of local communities, especially parent-teacher association, in planning and implementing their school reopening agendas, and more especially in finding additional spaces to use as classrooms in the communities. What options are there? I mean, what is workable? Is it the shift system that some schools are beginning to implement?
Well, the options available will definitely depend on the outcome of discussion with the community members, which was evidently missing in our case. In other countries, they started school reopening by having discussion with the PTAs on whether to run shift system or whether to run parallel system by looking for spaces in the community and then running parallel classes so that they don't have to do morning and afternoon. So what is normally decided by the community, taking into cognizance the resources at the school, is what is used. Because at the end of the day, the parent has to dispatch the child to school and must have the confidence that the school is safe before they will do so. So that is why we have recommended that the bottom-up approach in planning reopening, I mean, in implementing reopening plans, not planning per se, but implementing reopening plans is a way to go for African governments. Recognize that one of the biggest issues on the continent is availability of desks. So even if you split the classes into 2, you will still have challenges with desks. In Ghana, for instance, in Accra, averagely we are doing between 2 and 3 people on a desk in Accra. And so, in the rural areas too, the situation is not different. 3 on the desk. So it means that if you have to do physical distancing, you end up having to split the class into 3, not 2, because per WHO Ghana Health Service regulations, it has to be 1 on the desk if you are using the 1 meter distancing. All this can be resolved when there's a community level discussion on the issue, and community members, through their PTAs, are able to support by providing extra chairs and extra spaces. And so we have encouraged African governments to adopt a community-led implementation of reopening plans, so that the resources of the state, which obviously are limited, would have been complemented by local community participation and their resources.
And then, the last recommendation, and that's where we have to end this conversation. Interestingly, you're asking government to give timelines for securing vaccines for frontline workers, teachers and healthcare workers, and then all learners.
We are very, very late on this, to be honest. In Europe and America and all those other advanced countries, and even in some parts of Africa, their governments have already announced timelines for receipt and then administration of vaccines. Okay, in Nigeria, for instance, they were expecting their vaccines by end of January. It just moved to February. In South Africa, there are timelines in February, they're expecting their vaccines. What I want to say is that as we reopen schools in this pandemic, one of the frontline workers are teachers. And so announcing vaccine plans and then giving timelines only goes to, among others, motivate teachers to manage teaching within this pandemic and manage the risks that they put their lives in, with the expectation that very soon they will be getting vaccines. And so, yes, government should announce their plans to administer vaccines to frontline workers, especially teachers, especially health workers and teachers, as part of motivating them, to own up to their responsibilities even before the vaccines arrive.
Well, it's just week 2 since schools reopened. And then, of course, with the surge in the COVID-19 cases that we're recording, I guess we will be talking a lot more in the coming days. But for today, I thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Kofi Asare, he's Executive Director of Africa Watch. And of course, we've been looking at the situation with adherence of COVID-19 protocol. Africa Education Watch, I beg your pardon. That's where Kofi Asare is Executive Director. And we've been talking about the adherence to COVID protocols. Listen, don't let any policeman, don't behave like a toddler. Sometimes they have to be threatened. You have to mention that you are calling the police before they do the right thing. You're an adult. You've seen the figures. The numbers go up every day, and you're not insulated. I mean, you can joke about it, you can laugh about it, but this is real. You've got to protect yourself. You don't need anybody. Just look on your screen, and you have to do the right. You have to protect the next person, and the next person will have to protect you. You don't need police to be on you for you to do the right thing, especially when it has to do with your health. Be responsible and take the needed precautions. So that's the end of our conversation, at least on this. We will be spending the rest of our time talking about the man, Jerry John Rawlings, and looking at what is happening today in terms of the national activities leading to the final burial rites of the late former President Jerry John Rawlings at the Accra International Conference Center today. He's been laid in state, and there is a schedule which I'm just going to run you through so you don't just wake up and go, depending on who you are, where you fall in terms of the lineup, then you could go at a certain time. So today and tomorrow he will be laid in state. And on Wednesday, he will be buried. Okay, so I'll come back. Okay, no, I can share with you what's happening today in terms of those expected to file pass as he's laid in state. Between 8 a.m. and 8:30, heads of security agencies. So I guess that should be wrapping up. 8:30 to 9 a.m., leaders of political parties. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., we'll have the National Democratic Congress. 10 and 11, staff from the office of the President Rawlings. 11 and 12, traditional and religious leaders. And the general public, you and I, citizens, we can go from 12 noon to 6 p.m. today. 12 noon to 6 p.m., unless you're part of the special category that I mentioned earlier. We will have a little celebration of the man who we're told by the people who knew him, they say when he came around, he got involved. So we'll be celebrating him here on our show. But I've got a special birthday dedication. It's a man that we engage also here on our show. He talks about national issues, particularly on corruption. Edem Senanu, co-chair Citizens Movements Against Corruption Ghana. It's your birthday today. A happy, happy birthday to you from all of us. A Joy News, of course, the multimedia group. To you, Edem Senanu, of Citizens Movement Against Corruption Ghana. A happy, happy birthday to you. All right, stay with us. I'll see you in a little bit.